All right. Happy Wednesday. I'm excited, Ashley. We're going to start our
Yeah.
Martech Minute, which is nicely alliterated, which I'm proud of us for. So, yeah, I think one of the reasons that we want to do this is because so many of our clients are just dealing with the reality of marketing technology and
Mhm.
the way that their tech stacks are or are not functioning. And I would say not functioning is the probably majority and
Yeah.
functioning as the minority. And so much is changing. So like, we were even talking about that this morning. I don't even remember who on an SEO call or something that like, it's been a year, right? Like since certain, AI systems were non-functioning to where they're now super functional and embedded and all these things. So anyway, goal here is that you and I sit down once a week and just chat about it because you're the one
Yeah.
who stays on top of it and I am not. So this way I can ask you questions and you can tell me things and then everyone else can hear them too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think that, some weeks, like this week, I wanted to, there was one article that came out, the acquisition with Active Campaign acquired, excuse me, Feedback Intelligence, which is going to really create this whole self-driving campaign automation. And there was an article about it in Martech, and there's been other articles about the acquisition, obviously. And it just got me thinking how, we're hearing a lot about like all of the automations and how to implement it. And a lot of the like tech that our clients are using have AI components now, and how do we use it and how do we implement it and what do we need to do? So like you said, things are moving so quickly that we're starting to see that they're moving faster than we can keep up with in terms of like putting our systems in order. So I just wanted to spend a little time talking about like what we're seeing with our clients in terms of where we can implement AI, where it works really well, without having to do a lot of cleanup, and at what point like do we need to do the cleanup? Because when you pull in something like labeled as self-driving automation, everything needs to be super clean and organized within your systems in order for it to work. Otherwise, it won't. So yeah, I thought that today would be a great starting out with that in terms of just working on cleaning up the database.
That's a really good question. I mean, it's a really good consideration, but I think that opportunists, right? We're in the gold rush of AI. So opportunists in the form of tech startups, no shade, but everyone's trying to get a piece. And they're selling companies on efficiency. I mean, that's the key one, right? Everyone's saying AI is going to do things faster, AI is going to do things neater, AI is going to automate. But we have already watched in our own client systems of like, you go in and you try to automate something and immediately discover, your data is not normalized. You actually can't automate anything until you do that. So yeah, I guess I'm interested to know like if you have thresholds in mind for like what the system needs to look like in order to be automation ready or
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
is that then
I
done?
mean, really, it's doing a full audit of for your database, for example, like marketing campaigns. If anything is automated there, we need to make sure that all of the contact information, company information, all of those records are super clean and accurate, because as we go into more automation and automation starts getting into segmentation, and automating that segmentation, it's not going to work if we don't have the correct data for our clients. They're going to be sent emails they shouldn't be sent. I mean, we've seen that with clients where we don't have any AI connected. So I think we've been able to, not we, but in general, companies and organizations have been able to get away with like a little bit of messiness in their database and developed workarounds for it. But now we're at the point where time needs to be set aside to address the situation, normalize everything, make sure it's accurate, and then move from there. Because really, if we don't start at that point, and then layer on the automation and AI, everything will take much longer to be able to be accurate, and there'll be many more issues that turn up in that automation process than if we just like take a moment and address those concerns. So that starts generally with an audit.
So you're saying take a moment, but I
mean, I'm being nice.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who like talks to the CEOs of these companies, I can immediately tell it, like, I mean, there's pushback, right? Because it's like, okay, they've got an angel and a devil, right? Like the devil's saying like, you have to use AI to stay ahead competitively in the marketplace, and it's going to make your life easier and your people get easier and you can reduce headcount and all these things, right? And then we come in almost like the devil and are like, okay, but actually none of this will work. And it's not like we're the devil, we're the realists. And the reality is like, okay, let's take a scenario. I have a 400,000 person CRM, contact records in my CRM. It's 10 years old. I've had 12,000 marketing members on my team in the last 10 years, right? I mean, point being like, you know, marketing has high turnover. So there's been tons of different staff, all of whom have had different ideas of how to label things, how to categorize things. Nobody has been in charge of the CRM, let's say. I mean, we're just taking one system, right?
Right.
Nobody's been in charge of the CRM. So it hasn't really been managed. There's records that don't exist, people that don't exist anymore, things that bounce, all of that. I mean, taking a system like that and then trying to AI-ify it in any way, integrating it with other systems. That's what people don't realize too, is like any automation requires advanced integrations with other systems. You can't integrate with other systems if they don't speak the same language. So even just, you know, the way you title things or classify or whatever. So point being, what would that take? And how would you actually sell that project to a CEO? Because what is the ROI of that? The ROI of that is nothing, because you're just preparing.
Right. But I mean, there is an ROI, because if you think of how much time it will take to try to do an integration, backtrack and pause the integration, where then you have to have someone come in, untangle the integration because the data wasn't clean. I mean, you're saving money in the long run to be able to just spend it on getting everything clean before doing the integration, because at some point you're going to get stuck and it's going to take up time. So that delayed time could be delayed in like launching something. You know, there could be more factors that get affected by the fact that like you didn't start from the foundation, right? Solid foundation. You can't build anything that will structurally without a solid foundation. So if your data is not clean, that's your foundation. If it's not clean and it's not up to date, then whatever you're building on top of it is not going to work. So there is a cost in just jumping on board, trying to integrate, and then it not working. And what the other part that, you know, we see is, yes, that all of the like AI tools and stuff come out, organizations will buy it because it's like sold on the fact that all of the like fun features it will do, but then they end up not using it. So there's also that too, where like you've just spent $10,000 on this new software that's going to make all these changes. You realize you can't actually use it because you don't have other things in place, and then that's gone, essentially. Like there is that factor where there is an ROI. It's just not as visible and measurable as, you know, other types of ROI. But you brought up a really great point, where having someone in as like the CRM manager of like either the single CRM or all of the Martech stack, that is 100% something that we don't see in most organizations, to have an owner of like HubSpot, Salesforce. And that's where, in those organizations, is where we see the most, inconsistencies with data, because there isn't a person kind of directing and being able to say, hey, like we can add this property, we can't add that property because of the mapping. So one, clean data, but also you need a CRM manager, someone in charge. And for an organization, in your hypothetical organization, they definitely need.
Yeah, you have 400,000 contact records and 10 years of technical debt.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's time.
Yeah.
Well, that's where, I think the argument that AI is going to reduce headcount is flawed, because it probably won't. It will probably simply introduce new roles.
Yes.
Right? Because all of these systems require advanced management.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Going back to what you said at first, you were talking about how everybody needs to start with an audit. If you're going to AIify anything, you need to look at, what does your current tech stack look like? The kind of number one principle of an audit, right, is that you're ultimately comparing a system in an organized way, right? You're analyzing a system in an organized way and comparing it against a standard, right, of how it should be. So I guess walk us through, like, if there were no complications, let's consider like a ground zero scenario. What would a clean, healthy Martech stack look like?
For like a CRM, are you saying?
I guess think about everything. Like, if we were to say, like, we want to come in and, do advanced automations for an entire marketing technology stack, that would touch, email, contact management, social media scheduling, CMS, like website reporting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, in my opinion, having obviously a CRM, so a lot of our clients have HubSpot. A lot of them are HubSpot and Salesforce, but having a CRM where you have you have your properties set up in the way that your company uses them, right? So you have your contacts, you have your customers as they're labeled in HubSpot, Salesforce opportunities, organized on and all set up in the way that your company utilizes each of the fields. So just if you took a fresh CRM and you were starting from fresh, ideally you would want to define what this criteria and have an SOP or a handbook that clearly defines everything, essentially. So everyone is in agreement of, this is how we handle contacts. This is how we can't handle associations to companies or contacts associating with each other. This is how we handle companies, which is, how things are updated. Does it pass from the contact to the company to the contact? All of those factors you want to take into consideration and define before you really put a bunch of data into the systems. With HubSpot, we can do social media scheduling through there. So ideally, if you have a system that is multi-use with like your CRM and social media. If you don't, there are plenty of other social media schedulers. You just want to try to choose one that has you can manage all of your social platforms on. So you're not like, some is native, so you're not doing some natively scheduling, some within that app, which is difficult. I mean, we ran into that this week with finding one that supports Blue Sky. So, that often changes. HubSpot doesn't support Blue Sky. So there are some outliers there, but at least one that will handle the majority and what you most frequently post on for social media. And then website. So whether you are using HubSpot CMS or WordPress, making sure that integrate the WordPress HubSpot integration or whatever CRM you're using and the CMS you're using, those integrations are clearly mapped, whether that's with a plugin, API, and just making sure that everything is talking to each other the way that they're supposed to be. And the data is being pushed from one to the other. That includes forms. So the more that you can have a system that is a little bit more multi-use, it's a little bit easier from the AI standpoint integration for everything to talk together. It's less API calls that we have to make through programs. Like if we're using Claude, then you would need to connect all of those. Whereas, if you use the HubSpot Cloud connector, more things will connect. We'll be able to analyze data a lot faster. And let's see, what else can I think of? Am I missing any?
I guess reporting.
Yeah, reporting. I think reporting is still a little bit one that we're trying to figure out, and one that works best. Looker Studio has quite a few connectors that have been pretty successful for us. But we're also playing around with how we can create reports directly in Claude or ChatGPT in projects there. So but on the reporting side, making sure your Google Analytics is set up accurately from the beginning. And really that's tough for one person to be able to look in and audit and make sure everything's talking together. A lot of cases, different software have different owners, just depending on where it lives, what team the software lives on. So communication between how we're going to have these systems talk to each other, and documentation is the most important in an audit. So if you're starting fresh, document from the beginning, figure everything out, how we want everything to connect. There will be revisions as you start working with the tools. It's a living document, so we're going to make some adjustments as things progress, new things are released. But if you are starting in an audit, you can still start with fresh documentation, establish what you want for, all the criteria for everything within your CRM, and with your CMS, so your website, how your email will talk to each other, and then start cleaning up and updating all of your systems that way. But the documentation is, I said database, and then I said CMS manager or CRM manager, but documentation is another. So those three are super important to be able to have a really great foundation to then introduce your AI capabilities and tools, and really be able to expand on that more, just knowing that everything is set and solid in your systems.
I think it's interesting because as you were talking about that, I feel two categories emerged when it came to data handling, which I want to talk about whose job that is in a second. But there's the categorization. So what do we call stuff, right? Labeling is so inconsistent in so many systems, even between marketing and sales, right? We have different labeling. It's funny because Lauren and I were doing an automation with my very favorite app script the other day, and we couldn't get it to work, and it kept saying it was labeled wrong, and it wasn't. It was the capitalization was correct, the words were correct, everything. There was a space at the end of the word on a tab, and I was like, are you freaking kidding me? The whole system couldn't work because of that one little thing. And I was just like, man. So labeling is so freaking important because again, they're computers. They can't read between the lines. They're just reading what's there. So the labeling component, but then also the data movement, right? So where is data moving? What direction is it moving in? Who is it moving towards? Whose responsibility is it? That is not usually well mapped. Usually that occur, I feel most systems for data movement within a Martech stack are inherited from whatever system somebody's using.
Yes.
So whatever the default setting of the CRM is, cool. We'll just use those stages of the life cycle, and that's what we'll use, right? And nobody really gives it thought. Like, how are we going to move data through? And even like data decay and, sunsetting dead contacts. And there's so much there's so much thought that could go into it that doesn't. And then I feel like it creates just this like snowball effect of mess.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think that that's one of the components that takes a little time to figure out when we first start working with an organization and at the audit level is what's your source of truth. And that's also, it's a whole nother conversation of like what's the sales team source of truth and marketing source of truth, and how can we come to an agreement there. But yeah, I mean, establishing that from the beginning is critical. And I think you make a great point is it's like writing code where if you have one little small thing off, everything breaks. So just being very consistent with labeling and processes to make sure everything is working, and the upkeep of it, because connections break, there's maybe something will go wrong. So making sure there's some sort of monitoring in place that notifies an individual, hey, this is broken. And like we build that into, like, for example, you said the app scripts, like that's built into the app scripts where we would get a notification, an email notification, or sometimes it's on the sheet. We'll get a notification if something is no longer working. But those checkpoints are really, really important to know, and to have someone that like manager, Martech stack manager, that is on top of watching for errors, because it can really set back. And when it's not caught, it can be like months of data that is incorrect.
Yeah. And I feel like the pain of change, especially when it comes to like changing a labeling structure, let's say, is real. Like that freaking sucks. Like it is time consuming, and it's usually manual and painful, but I feel like it's akin to like if you don't do it, it's akin to being like, I saw a spider, I'm just going to burn the house down. Like you can't just move because your house is a mess. Like you have to clean the house. Like there's no alternative to doing that work if you want to automate, or if you want to have integrated AI.
Yeah, that's a great point. There's always, when you're introducing an automation, there is always a manual step that has to occur in order to get that automation to automate and to run on its own. And then once you get past that manual step, it's great. It works really well. But it's, when people think of AI, you think of like, oh, I just need to like turn this toggle on or whatever. But there's a lot more to it, and just being aware of the time that's set up in the beginning to get it up and running smoothly. I mean, we have some great content systems in place now that are fully automated, that, has saved so much time with the use of AI. But in the beginning, it was manual to figure it out and to like make sure everything connected. So there's always that component that has to be built into any type of integration of AI products as well.
But that's important to do, because I'm a big believer in like, if you don't do it, if you don't get your hands on it and do it, you don't understand how it works.
Right.
So then even if you get a notification that something broke, you can't fix it.
Yeah.
You don't know how it works. I think so. I mean, it's tricky, and it takes a lot of brain power and a lot of discipline to just do the very boring stuff of setting it up and testing it and error handling and all that. But what other choice do you have? I mean, the only way you're going to get the result.
Yeah. I think that one of the key takeaways is definitely that this is the time, if you're putting off like organizing your data, making sure it's clean, like just getting in there and, setting up, I don't know, a team to be able to like go in and clean everything, take a month. I know that sounds long, but take a month to get everything in order, get your documentation and all of everything in place in preparation, then you can start adding all of the AI components of the software you already have, trying those beta products or turning them on and introducing new. But really, I mean, like you said, things are moving so quickly and faster than like we can keep up with sometimes, that if you haven't done it yet, you really need to do it. Like this first quarter or first half of 26, there should be some resources reserved for just like getting in there and getting it clean and organized, because it's going to move very quickly.
Yeah, I totally agree. The last thing I want to talk about, because I know we're almost at time, and I appreciate you letting me kind of take over this. I'm so bossy. I just like saw you and then I like thought of all these things I wanted to talk about. I don't want to hijack things, but I am interested, like, whose job is this, right? So if I think about, historically the role, because like where I usually fill in an organization is like as a fractional CMO, right? So when I'm fractional CMO, my role is strategy and people, right? Like I'm thinking big picture. I'm thinking, how are we orchestrating this whole thing? I'm thinking managing the department, which usually includes projects and people. As we look at the increasing role that automated technology is playing, AI systems. I mean, Tracy and I built an AI staff member this year, last year. Like the role of the CMO, like historically has not really been super tied to technology, right? We've had technologists on our team, but we haven't had to be the tech people. The tech people come to us and explain stuff. And when it breaks, okay, fix it. But if these systems become increasingly like are taking over so much of the functions of the department, does that then functionally change the CMO's role? I'm just curious what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I it can either change the CMO's role. We are noticing that more CMOs that we work with are interested in understanding the AI component, and maybe it's more so like they're forced to at this point. They have no choice, but I do think that there is either the CMO role or some type of, instead of hiring, having I don't know, like a marketing coordinator, it's more of like a marketing orchestrator, right? So they're really just like, and it's probably more mid-level, more manager, like, I don't know, senior specialist or something. I'm not quite sure like what level, but it needs to be somebody that is great at prompt engineering, understands AI tools and how they work together in a marketing environment. So it is a little bit more of a technologist role, like you said, and not necessarily does it need to be the CMO, because the CMO can focus on other things then. But that role is needed to have someone that focuses solely on just making sure everything's running correctly.
And but I will say, even if it's not going to be the CMO's role, like for me, it's really important that if I'm going to have the credibility to lead people, I need to understand what a good job looks like for that person.
Sure. Right? Yeah.
So that means I need to be able to evaluate the quality of their work. If I don't understand their work at all,
right,
like that makes hiring them really hard, first of all, because I don't know if they're good or not. And then it makes leading them really hard because I don't know if they're growing. I don't know if they're doing a good job. So I just feel like the education mandate and like the upskilling mandate is not necessarily just for the doers.
No, I would agree with you. There definitely needs to be some knowledge of how things are done through it, how things are built through AI, and being able to, evaluate the person's job. So I mean, it's really upskilling in every role and understanding AI, which can feel super overwhelming, but it's really just starting with like one area and understanding that area, like whether it's how your CRM is working and knowing how everything is set up correctly and the potential of adding AI, even if you understand there's potential there and you know that it can work, you've done like preliminary research or whatever. It doesn't need to be like the nitty-gritty part. That can be the technologist's job, but just to have that knowledge and just start small, like one area. I think, you mentioned Tracy. Tracy has a really good habit of just having a list of different tools to test out on, her own time. And that's what we do as well. And just being able to jump in, try them out, test, do a small project and have an understanding. Like you just need an understanding to be able to thoughtfully direct and make sure that, everything's getting done correctly. Mm-hmm. And also to report to leadership and whoever you're reporting to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. I like it.
I mean, we could talk forever about this, but
I know.
Our time.
We do talk about this every day. All right. Did you have anything else for us?
No, I don't think so. I think we'll play around with different formats. Sometimes I'll like come in and we can talk about some different updates and new products that are being released and new things within Martech, but also get in the weeds a little bit with like what we're seeing with our clients and, talk about that like we did today. So
yeah,
we'll see how it goes.
Lots of good food for thought.
Yep.
Thanks. See you soon.
Thank you.